for hosting. Thank you, Sunshine, for hosting Juan. Really appreciate it. And I will introduce, and there's Quandra again. So, Quandra, thank you as well. So, I've been a coach with Sunshine. It feels like a few months, but I think it's been 2 years now, Juan, maybe
Yeah.
something like that. And during that time, I had the pleasure of meeting some great businesses, including Land Custom Solutions, who's represented here by Lana Burks. And I just wanted to really stress the importance of the community with Sunshine. So Lana we've been working together as a coach and a client during this period of time. And she's one of my favorite people, not just in the program, but on earth. Lana and I, we get together and we just laugh so hard, just about life and business. And that's what Sunshine does is bring us business people together. And I really wanted to highlight Lana tonight because during those sessions, you learn about people and what they do and the skill sets that they have, and you really want to elevate them. So it's really important for me, for Lana and her peers to see who she is and what she can do, because all of the Sunshine businesses can do the same thing. So that's extremely important. So Lana will be presenting in a little bit. But Lana, do you want to give an introduction yourself and then I'll get started? You on mute.
Hello, everyone. Thank you both, Mr. Kitchen here and Sunshine, for allowing me to come on and kind of do a little small presentation. And for those who do not know, I am an alumni of Sunshine. And as has been stated, we've been working together and it has been absolutely great. So, needless to say, I was truly heartbroken yesterday when I found out he's no longer going to be with us. So I'm still trying to digest this because I've gained so much information from him.
Okay, let's go ahead and jump in. Lana, if you could you put your name and email address in the chat? That way, if people want to connect with you, they are able to. Okay. So I'll go ahead and get started. And since we have a small group, if anyone has a question as we go along, do not hold on to it. Just jump in, jump off of, turn your camera on, jump in. This is your session. So I want you to get the most out of it. So don't hesitate to ask a question. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share now, Juan.
You're not able to share?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. There we go. Okay. So everyone can see that screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. So a couple of different things as we talk about data, and I know that everyone here has provided data before, and everyone here has used data. Every single person. I'll give you an example. Have you ever gone into a store, any store, and when you get to the checkout, they say, "What's your zip code?" And the first thing we think is, "Why do you want to know my zip code? I'm just in here buying some tomatoes or buying some shoes. Why are you all in my business?" Well, the reason why they capture that piece of information is because that's going to tell them how many people come into that store, how far they're traveling from the next store, and they're going to take that information, all of those results, and say, "We need to open a new store in 60603 zip code because we don't have one in that zip code. And it seems that these people are traveling all over the city to come to this location. So if we open a store in that zip code, we want to capture not only the people who live in the area now where this store is, but also more people who probably didn't know about this particular location." That's invaluable to a large corporation because that's one of the best ways to determine where they're going to go moving forward. So let's follow the path of the big corporations and use the resources that they're using to grow our businesses. So as we think about data, there are a couple of different aspects, right? You want to collect data, then you want to be able to analyze it somehow, some way. And then one of the most important things, as Lana will show us later in the presentation, is to make informed decisions, to be able to predict things in the future. That's really the power of data. So when you look at data collection, we as business owners, we want to pull data every single time we interact with either an existing customer or a prospective customer. And then again, we want to look at these patterns. What are the patterns that we see in our business? Again, are the customers coming from the same area code? Are the customers buying the same products? Are they buying the same services? What's that behavior like? And then when you look at future trends, when you want to forecast, you take all that data and say to yourself, okay, between January and March of every year, that's when we get most of our sales. So what does that tell us? We need to have inventory on hand during that time, or we need to be really available during that time. So we're able to use predictive analytics to determine where we should be moving as a company based on the data that we've already captured. So one common question is, what type of data do I need to collect? And I'm a small business. I don't have much infrastructure. How do I get started with all of this? This is just overwhelming, as Juan mentioned earlier. You hear data, you just run. It seems like something that's very technical. It seems like something that only the big companies need and should have, and we don't even know where to start with data. But let's just keep it very simple. Data in its simplest form could be knowing what your revenue is. That's just one piece of data. Why is that important? What if you're going for a loan? They want to know what your revenue is. Well, how do you keep track of revenue? You can use systems like QuickBooks. If you're small and you don't use QuickBooks yet, you can even keep it in the form of a spreadsheet, a Google Sheet, or Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. But you want to know that number. That's data. That's going to give you a lot of information. Are you making the money that you want to make? If not, this number is going to tell you exactly where you are at any given point in your business. Same thing with profit. Profit is different from revenue, as you all know. So if you bring in $1,000 in a month, and after all of your expenses have been paid, you have $300 left over. So that says that you have a profit margin of about 30%, right? Why is that important? If anybody has kids and you give your kids $500 and you tell them half of that needs to go to the piggy bank, right? Well, they're thinking they're going to spend $500. It's the same thing with business owners. You make $1,000, that may not be the amount of money that you can go spend on expenses and purchasing things for your business. So the profit margin is the amount of money, it's that area where you know that's the spendable cash after you've paid all of your bills, all of your responsibilities from that sale or from a quarter of sales or from an annual sales standpoint. And then this is extremely important. Lana and I have gone through this many times. What is the true cost of the product or service that you're delivering? It's defined as COGS, and I know that in the Sunshine program that they teach you about cost of goods sold. And what cost of goods sold in the simple terms is, how much does it cost me to deliver this thing? Even if I'm providing services, if I have a salon or if I have a professional consulting firm, it costs you something, which we'll dig into later, but it costs you something to deliver that service, even if it's you providing that service. And then you want to keep track of your customer information. Why? Because you want to remarket to them. What does remarket means? What does that mean? I should say. Remarketing means that once they've purchased from you, you can go back to that same customer with all of that history and know what they bought from you. Again, where they're located. Did they buy online? Did they buy in person? What type of payment did they use? Did they use PayPal? Did they use debit card? All of that information is extremely important. One example of customer information is, take Facebook, for example. Everybody in this session, and everybody's going to look at this later, has given Facebook some really important data. That's how they are extremely valuable as a company today, because of the information that we freely give them, thinking that we're increasing our profile. right? For our friends and family. But every time you went in the past, you checked in at a restaurant, or every time you uploaded an image and said, I was on vacation in New York, all of that is data. Every single bit of that is data. And we'll talk about how they use that type of data in a minute. And then just the product or service that you offer, you want to keep track of. If you're selling a physical product, what inventory do you have in house, right? Besides the inventory, what if you're providing a service? Well, how much of this thing are people going to buy? So I see Rabiha in here, and she's one of the people that I work with, Mike Bailey as well. So Rabiha, for example, if you're selling shirts, well, how many do I have available to sell? If I have an order for 25 and I only have 23 in house, that's a problem. That's a really big problem. So you always want to know what your inventory is if you have a product that you're selling. But if you're selling a service, your inventory is your time. Do you have time to deliver that service that you're selling to people? Extremely important. So when we talk about data and we're talking about growth, and we want to look at the opportunities there with the data that we can capture, these are 5 points. They're not necessarily the only five, but I think these are key points. And we talked about a couple of them, but it's important during this session that you're going to hear some of the same things over and over again. And that's intentional. It's because they're extremely important. When you talk about which products you're selling and why, understanding what the customer is going to buy, that's extremely important. And Lana's going to show us with real data what that looks like. Also, when you talk about pricing, and Lana's going to show some of this as well, is what's working from the industry standpoint. Are your customers not purchasing because the price is high, or are they not purchasing because the price is too low? And yes, that's a real thing in business. If you price your products and services too low, people are going to associate that with low quality. You never want to be associated with low quality. So if you have low sales and you have low prices, it could be that people are looking at that thing that you're doing as not having any value whatsoever. And then with data, you can also really customize the outreach that you have with your customers. If you know, for example, I'll give you this example about Facebook. So let's dig into that now. If you wanted to go buy a Facebook ad, you go in and you can choose any data point you want. I want to target women between the ages of 25 and 50 who live in the Midwest, who have an income between X and Y, who have 2 kids, who went to college, who like yoga. You can literally create an ad using and selecting data at that very precise level. And you say to yourself, well, how does Facebook know that? Because you and I give Facebook all of these data points about ourselves. We list our hobbies, where we've been, what school we went to, where we work. Every time you update your profile, that's one more data point that Facebook takes. And what they do is they have a really big database. And then they sell that database to anybody that's willing to pay for it through Facebook ads. So as a business, and we go in there and we want to sell ads, we want to sell products using Facebook ads, you pick all of those points that the other 6 billion users of Facebook have given for free to Facebook. So they're making a killing off of this free data. And they're able to tailor messages specifically to a group of people. And that's because they've captured all of that information from all of us. And then when you talk about loyalty and personal experiences, again, if you're selling a product and you know when that customer's birthday is, you know their kid's name, you know that they typically travel during the summer, you can tailor your messaging, your ads, your email blast, everything specifically toward that person. And what happens is that we're on the receiving end of an email that says, hey Juan, I know you're usually traveling during June, but here's a couple of things that you may want to consider, right? I know you also like baseball. So here's some of the products we have in the baseball space. You can tailor all of that based on what you know about wine. Remember in the previous slides that you want to capture as much data as you can from your customers as possible. Another really important part of data, again, going to the operational side, is knowing what your internal costs are. And your internal costs for your business that's going to be crucial when you develop your pricing. When you re-evaluate your pricing, which I would consider maybe even once a quarter, a really good time frame to use for looking at your price and your internal cost, because costs will go up. But look at what we're dealing with now. Tariffs come into play. Not only that, you have inflation. Maybe your previous suppliers or the people who you use to deliver service, if you're delivering services, maybe those people have changed. You had to bring on new people and you have to pay them more than you paid the last person. Well, if your internal costs are changing, but your price to the customer remains the same, either you're going to make more money if your internal costs have gone down, or you could potentially lose money because your internal costs have gone up. All the while, your customer facing pricing has remained the same. But here are a couple of different things that play into how you determine what those cost of goods are. It's if you're making products, it's all of your production cost, every single dime and penny that it takes to make that thing. So again, Rabiha, for example, if she's doing shirts, it's the price of the shirt, it's the price of the printing, it's the price that you paid to get the logo design, if that was a thing. Customers are typically going to pay a shipping cost, but sometimes we do orders where they purchase something and shipping is included or shipping is free. And that's a real thing. But that's still a cost that you're absorbing. So you need to understand what that is. Same thing with services. You have labor cost. Even if you're doing the work, a common misconception with entrepreneurs I see is they never value their own time, right? So take Michael Bailey, for example, in the construction space, right? His time is extremely valuable. So he can't go quote a job just on materials and not factor in what it's going to cost for him to be on that site doing that work. If you were paying somebody else, you would list it, but why don't we list our prices for ourselves, which should be market value? And that's one of the biggest things I see with entrepreneurs where they always leave that out. Delivery, shipping, again, delivery and shipping, that could be included in your price. It may be excluded, but either the customer is going to pay it or you're going to pay it. It's a real thing. It's a real cost. And if you look at shipping costs now, shipping costs have gone up substantially over the past little bit of time. That's why it's incumbent upon us to constantly look at our cost, constantly. What are our shipping costs? Are they more than they used to be? Are we passing that on to the customer, or are we going to absorb some of those costs? And then we look at operational costs, that'll be the rent, utilities, everything that's required to run your business. I included marketing in that, even though marketing could be a whole separate cost. But here's the reality: you market your business, not just your products. So out of everything that you sell, there needs to be a little piece of that that's dedicated to your marketing budget. 100%. So as we transition from my part of the presentation to Lana, and any questions you have, just throw them out. But here's the thing that I would say is, and I'll start with the quote down at Winston Churchill, who was a prime minister in London long, long, long time ago, is perfection is the enemy of progress. And I strongly believe that. And what that means is if there's a hesitation to get started for whatever reason, if you're waiting for the right time, if you're waiting for the right circumstances, if you're waiting for the right bit of information that you don't know how to start, that's no excuse, nor is it part of success for you to go ahead and wait to do any of this stuff. You can literally get started tonight if you wanted to. So I just wanted to throw a couple of things out here about how you can get started. One is, again, you can even just start formally keeping track of your revenue. I see a lot of clients, they'll just use PayPal or some of the cash apps, Venmo, and they just keep their payments in there, but they're not really accounting for the expenses that go along with these things. You can easily track the visitors to your website by using a tool like Google Analytics. It's free. And it'll tell you every page somebody has hit, how long they've been on a page, where they went from that page, how they got to that page. It'll tell you all of that information, and it's free and it's not complex. What sold and what didn't sell is extremely important. Services is very easy. Is your time being booked? Nope. So that means your services aren't being sold. If you have products on a shelf and you know that the red shirt is selling and the blue one is not, that's data for you. That's a preference. Some of the free tools you can use, again, Google Sheets, we mentioned that, or Microsoft Excel. Google Analytics, I mentioned that's free. You can use a form of JotForm. We use JotForm to collect data all the time. We send a form to prospects or even existing customers. And whatever they put in that form gets uploaded automatically into our CRM, to our customer relationship management tool, so that we have that information, and we send out forms periodically in the form of surveys or quizzes. Very important. You can send quizzes to your customers or prospective customers. You can even put quizzes. LinkedIn has quizzes and polls that you can put free. And that information that you get from the results of those polls can even tell you what your customers are thinking and where they're looking to go. And then review and adjust is extremely important. In business, you'll probably hear or have heard the phrase fail fast. And what does that mean? That means try something, and if it doesn't work, change it. Failure should be one of the most important words that you have in your vocabulary as a business owner, and you shouldn't be afraid of it. All failure means is you tried something and that thing did not work in the form that you tried it in. And that's a positive, that's not a negative, because what that tells me is if you're trying, that you're at least making progress. And at a certain point, you're going to find the thing that worked. And when you find that thing that works, then you need to dig into that. But if you're not trying enough, that if you're not failing enough, that means you're not taking enough attempts, swings at the bat, right? And that's extremely important. You want to know what went well and what didn't went so well for you, what didn't go well. And then what surprised you as a business owner? Were you surprised that the thing that people actually bought wasn't the thing that you thought they would buy? And from an emotional standpoint, as a business owner, we think we know what customers want and need, but in actuality, unless we're listening to them, we'll never know. And how do we know? They're going to tell us by what they buy. And that's extremely important. So we shouldn't emotionally respond and say, well, they didn't buy what they needed to buy. They bought what they wanted to buy. That's the most important piece. And then I talked about what we should do more of and what we should do less of. If you realize that you're posting on LinkedIn every single day and you're getting no responses, no sales, no activity, either that's the wrong platform, you're not doing it enough, or whatever you're doing is the wrong thing. So again, review and adjust all of these things. Before we get into Lana's presentation, is there anything else or anything that you all have seen on these slides that you have questions about so far before we dig into real data? Nothing? Okay. So I'll stop sharing, and then Lana, you can start your part of the presentation.
Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to just give you just a little small something about this particular company. This is a company that sells to, their products are footwear, sports wear, and apparel. So they sell t-shirts. I hear you say someone sells t-shirts. They sell t-shirts too, and their target audience is men, women, and youth of all ages. So when we talk about collecting your data, this is what it might look like. So this is just a regular Excel sheet. As you can see, we have customer ID, we have the dates, there's the shipping methods here, customer information as well, state, city. And then you get on over here, and these are your costs. So you can see the amount of quantity that was sold, sales, the profit. This also can be broken into like region, state by state, and I'll show you a little bit of that in a second. So here with this company, these are the overall top sales, basically. So this is for 1 quarter. And what was their top selling item? Tennis rackets. And as you go down, you can see what sold more and then what sold less. So here is where, these are items here that hasn't been great for this particular company, whereas these items are. And so you want to be able to keep up with what's selling and what's not selling. And you can do that with the Excel sheet. If you keep up with how many sold, how many didn't sell, where they sold, what state was selling, who's buying them, you can, well, I say we can even tell you which customers are your best customers when it comes to purchasing your products. Anyone have any questions? Okay. Let's say you have salespeople and you want to know how those salespeople are performing. Also, here you can see that this is by region, and this is also the 1st quarter. So you can see who are my top sellers. And this is in terms of quantity. So not that they're selling per sales, which we can also give you that kind of information as well, but in terms of the quantity of sales. In this case, this person here is your best seller. Not so much for Timothy. Timothy hasn't been doing a great job selling the amount of quantity. Well, you want to know that because you want to provide some type of support and find out what's going on with this person as to why these items, this person is not selling in terms of the quantity of products as where the others are. And here is where you can see the darker colors, Texas and California, those are your best sales. Whereas the lighter the color is, not so much for Kansas, not so much for Massachusetts. So these, when you talk about collecting and analyzing data, these are things that you want to know. What state am I selling best in? What state is not? So this way you know who to focus on, who may need a little extra attention when it comes to your products and trying to get more sales in those states that are not selling. Any other questions? Or any questions at all? Okay. When we talk about predicting, this here is how you would predict. So this particular company in 2020, you can see that their sales weren't as great, but as time went on, they worked on it, see what was going on, working with their data, and they predicted by 2024, as the darker lines are the actual and the lighter ones are the lighter shade here. This is what they forecast to be their sales. And so in this instance, they're looking at increasing their sales by 2024 if they continue on the track that they're going in terms of watching their data and analyzing it as they should per quarter or per year. So you can see here that this company sales would be great. Well, was great in 2024 as opposed to what it was in 2020. I didn't put together a lot because I wanted to kind of keep it kind of basic, not give you too much on here, only because this can be broken down into, as I said, quarters, month, even days. You can find out what your business is doing on a day-by-day basis. Unless anyone has any questions, that's kind of it for me. Oh, all right. Well, I will send it back to, I don't know, Juan or Tony.
Yeah, thanks, Lana. You
Okay,
can
so let
stop
me stop
sharing now.
sharing. Yeah.
So I do want to start really working with the businesses to understand what they're looking at from a data perspective. So we really wanted this to be more interactive than just us sitting around talking, because people have real life situations they're dealing with. They have questions, and we want to be able to provide answers. The thing that I would say, when you look at the data that Lana provided, I don't know any major corporation out there today who doesn't do an exceptionally good job of understanding which products their customers want, where to put new stores, what time of the year people are purchasing, all of that. And again, they have a bunch of resources to do some of the things that we don't necessarily have the resources to do as small businesses. I'll give you one example. If someone was to open a retail store, let's just say that you wanted to open you can pick any number of stores, a Smoothie King, right? How would I know where to put those? I can hire a focus group. I can hire a PR company. You can hire consultants. But I'll tell you what I would do as a business owner. And I would probably have a really good answer for free. I would find every location that there's an Apple store at in the United States, and I would probably put my store within a couple of blocks of an Apple store. And why is that? Because Apple considers itself to be a premium brand, and they have done all of the research that we can ever spend money on as to where to put a store based on the median income, based on the other businesses that are in that area as anchor businesses. So if you ever go to an Apple store, if you've ever driven down the street past an Apple store, the rest of the businesses around that Apple store are going to be premium brands, or as close to premium as possible. So if I'm doing research, let Apple spend a couple $100 million figuring out where to put a new store. And all you want to do is use that information to your advantage. So that's one way of looking at how big corporations use data, and how small companies and businesses like ours can look at what's happening in the industry and out here in the business world and make informed decisions just based on what other people are doing, what other businesses are doing. But I really want to kind of dig in. I see Bruce Montgomery. I haven't seen Bruce in years, but I really want to understand if people have situations today that we can address. I want to know what type of data you all are collecting, or how are you analyzing data? So go ahead and hop off mute, jump in. It's your time. We're here to help you.
We have a question on the chat. It says, so how do you quantify these things when your product is a service and not a physical product?
Okay, I was just reading that as well. Thanks for that, Juan.
Sure.
Okay, Joe, so here's the thing with services. Services are not very different than products, right? You can have a part number for a service, depending on what you do. What type of, I've had service businesses for 34 years now. And we have part numbers for the services that people purchase from us. Just like you'd have a part number for a pair of shoes, a t-shirt. It depends on the type of service that you're providing. Again, it could be, let's take a salon. Everybody knows a salon, or barbershop. It's the number of customers who come in a day. It's the number of customers you have in a week, in a month. And then you associate that number of people with the price. Are all the haircuts the same for men? Are all the styles the same for women? The price? It's going to vary, but at the end of the day, after customers have left in a physical store like that, you should be doing inventory just like a store does inventory. At the end of the day, you should know we had X number of clients that came in, and these are the things that they purchased. So it's not just counting the register at the end of the day if you're providing services. It's really understanding what the customer purchased. Most services companies have at least a couple of different services that they provide, even the smallest of firms. So that data that you're collecting is just who purchased from me, exactly what did they purchase, how much was that product or service, that service offering that we sold. And then what that tells you is if you have 5 services that you offer as a company, so let's just take a construction company, for example. Just take Mike Bailey. Let's just say he's doing roofing, he's doing flooring, he's doing outside concrete work, he's doing HVAC. If most of his customers are buying HVAC work, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, if 9 out of 10 of his customers are purchasing HVAC work, then what does that tell him? At a certain point, if nobody's buying concrete work, he should probably eliminate that as a service that he's offering because there's no revenue there for him. Maybe people are going to a specialty company that only do flooring. And I would focus in on the thing that they're purchasing most. So if everybody's coming to me and coming to Mike for HVAC work, I'm digging into that. I'm updating my website. I'm focusing in on that. The email campaigns that go out, social media, anything marketing, I'm focusing on HVAC work because that's where I'm making money. And customers are telling me that's what they're looking to buy. So I hope, Joe, that answered your question. Lana, do you have any input on that?
I would say the same thing. You have to count the number of clients that you have versus and compare that with the price of what your services are. So keeping up with the number of clients that you're getting, as you said, in a month, in a week, and then over the course of a quarter, has that increase? What have you done to promote the increase in clients? So yeah, I would say this. Just piggyback, same thing as she's saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Joe had a follow-up. Joe, Lana's information is in the chat, if you can see it. And his question was, can he schedule some time directly? Lana is the data lady, right? The data person. So she has some really good tools that she uses. She's well-trained. So she can definitely help you with the data piece. So my job is to facilitate you all working with one of your peers. So that's Lana.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then also, yeah, at the beginning of, before everybody jumped on, I did drop an ebook in the chat. You can see it at the top of the chat. And I think I can probably drop it again. Yep. But that's just a free ebook. It just talks a little bit more about data. You can download that. There's nothing connected to it. We're not capturing email address, anything. It's just a higher level view of the importance of data. I think someone had a question. Mike, what is your contact information? Yep. So that's for Lana and Mike. So they'll coordinate on that.
I was going to ask a question about tools. Are there any particular tools that are out there that can help the facilitation of data other than Excel or Microsoft Office tools?
So that's a great question, Quandra. So you're looking, you're talking about in terms of collecting data from people?
Right, collecting and then being able to analyze it, able to help you analyze the data.
Okay, I'm gonna let Lana deal with the more sophisticated tools. But here's the thing I would say that all of us can relate to. If you have a website, you should always have a contact form and have a lead magnet, meaning just something that has value to it, that would encourage people to give you their name and email address to download it. It could be, again, it could be an ebook, it could be subscribing to a newsletter. That information from there should go to an email program like Constant Contact, MailChimp, MailerLite. There are a bunch of ones out there that are free. Lana's taking notes, but there are a bunch of them that are free, and you can have that form auto-populate and just add that person to your email list. If you are on, if you're doing any other type of campaigns, ads, things of that nature, same thing. Whatever information you can capture from somebody, it's great. Again, you can have people do surveys, Quandra, using JotForm that's free. You can use Google Forms. Any type of form that you want to use to capture information for free. And you take that information and you can put it in Excel. Most small businesses, at some point, you need to get a CRM. There are a bunch of free ones out there, so I don't even want to start listing them. But there are a bunch of free contact management solutions out there that you can take that information and import it directly in there for free. It's very non-technical. You just choose the file name and it'll import it, right? Once you have that information in those free apps, so you have on the lower end, you have Smart Suite that's free. We've used that before within our company. Really good product. It's free. You can upgrade at any point. You have more sophisticated ones like Salesforce, if you want to get really costly, right, which are operations, and even NetSuite. But I tell people start out with a simple contact form on your website, do surveys, and if you don't have a CRM yet, just keep it in a Google Sheet, Microsoft Excel sheet, and then use an email tool like MailChimp or any of those, MailerLite, etc. Now, Lana, do you want to go over some more sophisticated ones, which she used today to do her presentation?
Well, not for this, but I was just going to say the easiest one is to just use Google. Just the Google Drive. Google has the analytics. Yeah, it's a number of things you can do. And if you have the business Google, you can do, I mean, you can make your own contact form. It's a number of things you can do. I would say just look into Google, and those are free. So
Linda asked a question. So Lana, there's your question. Linda asked, does Tableau collect this kind of data?
yes, it does. But you would have to use the Excel. You still would need to put it in an Excel format. So you would need to start with an Excel format in order to work with Tableau. But
So
yes,
Linda,
it does.
yep. So Linda, the Excel form is going to be one form of your source data. So it's like, okay, what do you want to bring into Tableau? Tableau, for those who don't know, Tableau, Microsoft Power BI, which is business intelligence, they are tools. They have free versions and then they have paid versions, right? And Tableau was owned by Salesforce. But those are tools that allow you to do business intelligence. So you take data and import it into those platforms. And what you saw today was, from Lana's presentation, was Tableau, where she took data, a spreadsheet, and she pulled it into Tableau, and she was able to sort it and present it all kind of different ways. So she's not just creating charts and graphs and things freehand. Tableau, you just click some buttons and it's going to show you that same data that you brought in different forms and different fashions. So Linda, I hope that answers your question. Okay, perfect. Who else? I mean, this is you all's time, right? So we're here to help your businesses out. Let me ask you this, because all of you all seem to be a little shy. Are you all collecting data now for your businesses? And if so, what kind of data are you collecting?
It's a little noisy. I'm in the health club. I couldn't miss the presentation, and thank you so much. I have to tell you, I took a Power BI course, data visualization, and I didn't get it. I did get it, but now that I hear you speaking about it and presenting this, I'm going back to it because I did use the free version to attempt collecting data for my own business. I'm trying to get back into being a yoga teacher. You guys are helping me, but just the graphs, the different kind of graphs, how to collect. I mean, it was just vast, and you've broken it down to where I'm now willing to go back in because I was scared of it. I was intimidated by it, and I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Linda. One thing, and Linda brings up, but she sparked a good point. Here's the thing. So let's just take a small business. Let's just say it's a one-person operation. No problem. Because back in the day, they used to be called solopreneurs, and everybody frowned on one-person businesses. But now you have tech companies with 3 or 4 people worth $200-300 million, right? So now it's kind of in vogue to be smaller because that means you're more efficient. You're a lean operation. That's what people want these days. But here's the thing. So let's just say that it's your one-person operation, and you are capturing people's information. Let's just say that you're selling products and you're using Shopify, right? Great tool to do analytics. Really good tool if you're selling products online, e-commerce platform, really good. But let's just say that you have a service-based business and all you're using is Microsoft Excel. That's all you're using. Here's the thing. When you are able to visualize the data that you've collected, you can put on several different hats from a business perspective, and you look at that data differently. For example, Lana showed who the top sales rep was, right? Okay, that's fine. We may not all have sales reps. But what was some more important data? It showed which product was selling the most. So the product that she showed that was at the bottom, it was like 1 unit sold. I would stop selling it in a heartbeat. I would focus my time on the things that were selling. And here's the other piece. As a business owner, so now put your marketing hat on. And as you saw, Texas and California bought more, people in those 2 states bought more of that product than anywhere in the United States. So that tells me that something is resonating with those 2 states. I don't know what it is based on the products, but there's something resonating there. So what would I do? If I was running ads, I would put more ads in California and Texas. I would dig into California and Texas. I wouldn't dig into, I think it was Arkansas that didn't have any sales. What's the point, right? So you can wear different hats. For example, operations. When you're looking at numbers and you're looking at your cost of goods sold, that's a function of operations. That's internal finance. So if I see that shipping costs are going up and I'm shipping product and I'm saying that shipping is included, I may need to reconsider that, right? So that's one hat. Again, sales. Which product is selling the most? Where is it selling? And then if I'm thinking about bringing new products on, so I know that this is, Rabiha can relate to this. If I'm looking to bring new products on, I want to see if I can use that same territory, that same area that's already buying my products. Again, because they're familiar with me. I'm a familiar brand to them. So it's easier to resell to an existing customer than get a new customer. Your customer acquisition cost is a lot less because you can just simply email them or send them a note and say, hey, you've purchased from us before. Here's something new that we have. So you can use the data that you collect in many different ways in your business. And if you had a big team, a marketing person, they will look at that data and see something else that you don't see. Same thing with finance, same thing with operations. So it's all relative. So Bruce had I don't know if it was a question or he just dropped something in here. So I think he's providing a resource where you can get some analytical tools for small businesses. The thing that I would say as well, thanks for that, Bruce. And the thing that I would say as well is one of the slides said, just get started. And this goes back to, I think, Quandra's question, which is, where do we start? It's going to be real simple. When somebody purchases from you, you want to know their name, phone number, email address, and what they bought. If you know that, you're far ahead of where some businesses are today. Even if you're selling a service. So even Michael Bailey, if you're doing construction, right, the trades, you want to know all of that stuff. We talked about remarketing. When somebody buys from you, you want to be able to go back and remarket to that same person or that same business. It's low-hanging fruit. It's right there for you. You're welcome, Linda. Anybody else? Rabiha, I see you. Jackie, I'm gonna start calling out names, putting everybody on the spot. This is your time. Don't come back tomorrow asking Juan for a copy of the presentation. You got time right now. Go ahead and ask your questions. Lana, anything else that you wanted to add? I think Rabiha just came off of mute.
I did. I was just gonna say thank you I related to the other person that just said the comment about just seeing the visual about how it's broken down and making it manageable chunks to see how you can the behind the scenes of looking at analyzing data and what really the starting point. So I'm not ready to say anything yet, but I am tracking. So thank you.
Excellent. Rabiha is such a good person. So we started working together not too long ago. And she has some amazing products coming out soon, y'all. So definitely want to support her. There was a question in the chat as well from Shantae. And the question is, what type of data should I collect for consulting services and reapproaching clients? When you say reapproaching, I'm assuming that you're meaning going back to existing clients, right? So I'll
Yes,
take it as that. Okay.
yes, I'm sorry. I was trying to avoid all the background noise with my babies. Hi, everyone. But yes, you mentioned just earlier just the low-hanging fruit, and I think I've left a lot of low-hanging fruit with the 40 organizations I've worked with. And so I was wondering, moving forward, what type of data I should collect, and then maybe what type of data I should go look and gather to analyze.
Well, thanks for that, Shantae. Tell all of us what type of consultant service or practice do you have?
Real quick. Yes, I provide trauma therapy services, and the consulting things that we do include training on trauma-informed care. So we provide interactive, customized training for organizations and social service and healthcare organizations to help improve retention, burnout, and engagement with their patients or clients that are participating in their services.
Mhm. Do you know how much it costs for you to get a new client?
No, I have not tracked the mark. No, I do not. That's a good question.
No problem. If you're on Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful would say, why don't you know your numbers? But it's okay. That's your customer acquisition cost. It's how much does it cost for you to get a new client? So in the services, in a product firm, let's just take that for example. It's, you know how much it costs to run an ad. So let's just say that it costs you $100 to run an ad, and with that one ad, you can get 5 customers. So your customer acquisition cost just for running ads is about $20 per customer. And then the next question is going to be, did you sell a product where your margin is at least $20 for the thing that they purchased, right? And if it's not, that means that you're paying more to get a customer than that customer is worth for each transaction, okay? But then you have to add one more number into the fray, which is the lifetime value of a customer. So if that customer is going to buy from you 12 times a year at $18, then you've made your money back from that initial $20 that you spent to acquire that customer. Services is not that much different. Bruce, you had a question?
Okay, it's you normally call me directly on my direct cell number. This is a Google Voice number. It routes to me, but
Okay. So Bruce, okay, thanks. He went on mute. So the thing that I would say, Shantae, with services is this: it's going to cost you money to get a client. In services, either you're going to, it's based on relationships, you're going to be responding to RFPs or bids, or you're going to be doing unsolicited proposals, going to an organization saying, I think that this is a problem you have. Can you verify that? And if so, I think I can solve that problem. So what does it cost you to get a customer? It's going to cost your time. It may cost you the use of a tool, automated emails. It may cost you to have a virtual assistant do You want to look internally at your operation. Where is my time being spent, and what tools am I using as a company that are paid subscriptions or for paid use? And what you want to do is you take all of those things, and you can divide that over the number of customers you have. If you have 10 customers and you paid $1,000 for tools, then that tells you that that customer acquisition cost may be around $100, right? Your operating cost associated with getting that customer. How are you getting customers today, Shante?
So we are still, all of the organizations we work with have mainly been organic contracts and conversions. So that's why I don't really know how much is costed for the conversion. Right now, our main stream of income is through our therapy services. And so what I've gathered from this conversation is primarily because the data shows that that's what I need to be focusing on until I can market their services.
You offer a multitude of services, and that's just one of them. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yes, sir. Our primary service is therapy, mental health, behavioral health services. Then the secondary is the training services.
Out of the two, you're making more money on one of them, is what you
Yes,
said?
the therapy. Mm-hmm.
Is there a big difference? Maybe not revenue, but there's a big difference. And we don't need to know your numbers, but is there a big difference between what is selling and what's not selling, or selling less?
Like as far as the frequencies go, or
The overall sales revenue coming in?
because one can get, they kind of, it's all contingent on the size of the contract with the training, because one training can cover a number of sessions.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So in your particular case with that type of service, it is going to be tracking revenue that you've made X amount of money for that service, even if it's a combined proposal where you have one proposal that has several different types of services in there. Then you may be able to even track the time spent on those services. So if 90% of it is consulting and 10% is doing workshops, for example, education, then it's a clear indication that the majority of your money is coming from the consulting side. And at some point, you may not even do the education side, right? That piece may be costing you more than you're making off that one component. But I would track that, for 3 months and look at how many engagements you had. And then of those engagements, what percentage of time and revenue came from each of your service categories, each of those solutions. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else have questions? I know we're right at the top of the hour, Juan. I'm being respectful of everyone's time.
Yes, thank you so much, Tony. Thank you so much, Lana. This was a great workshop. Just wanted to add to this that every single set of data tells a story. And sometimes it can be daunting looking at a database and a lot of numbers. Sometimes you don't know what to do, what to think about it. Take it step by step. Not necessarily you need to understand everything. Taking the information, try to analyze it the best you can, and then, take a day or two to try and process it. And, keep it in your mind, think about it constantly, and it'll pop up, the aha moment, it will come up because you know your business and you maybe don't know yet, but at some point you're gonna come up with the right question. And this is all about asking the right question to see what is the data that you really need to know and how to interpret it. And on that, sometimes we are humans, we tend to interpret things and tell ourselves what we want to hear. So probably a good advice is to gather your team if you have a team, or if you have a small business, gather your family and talk about this, hear their thoughts, hear what other probably friends who have businesses as well can say. Join focus groups or do your own focus groups that have uh, give a really good turn on when we do it at Sunshine. Uh, yeah, and just to end, a decision with data behind it will always be better. So don't be afraid to look at your data and interpret it and analyze it. Step by step, you'll be getting better and better every time. And thank you so much, Tony. Thanks so much, Lana. Quandra, I don't know if you have anything to add to it.
No, other than, thank you again, Tony. Both your presentations were really well put together, very thoughtful. Thank everyone for coming out with us today. We really appreciate seeing you all, and we look forward to you all being on other workshops and other networking events.
Thank you, Quandra. Appreciate it. And there are a couple of people I think that want, just in the chat, just to close out, I think someone wanted to share their contact information, Chef Lee. And then remember, there is a PDF in there. If you want to grab that before we hop off, you could take a second and get that information. And yes, Chef Lee, networking is extremely important. And to follow up what Juan said is, if you don't know, just ask. Just ask. There are a lot of great resources at Sunshine. Lana's an extremely good resource, one of your peers who can even just help answer questions for you. And if you don't know, she can do the work as well, right? So the resources are vast for you all. Thanks, Lana, for your wonderful work. Juan, Lana was a little nervous. I told her it's all family. It's all good.
This is a safe space, and thank you so much for sharing, Lana. I'm pretty sure you're gonna get a couple of clients here and there, and we'll keep growing together. This is what we do. We do network. So, and we grow together. So thank you everybody for attending tonight and taking the time to learn more about data. We'll keep having these kind of workshops for you to keep learning, and have a great night.
Yep. Thanks, Juan. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.